Eternal greetings to every soul listening right now, rising through the weight of everything life has ever tried to bury you under, rising through storms you were never warned about, rising through the shadows that once tried to convince you that you were too small, too fragile, too breakable to ever matter. I welcome you with the kind of fire that cannot be taken away, the kind of fire that refuses to die, the kind of fire that becomes louder when silence tries to smother it. You arrived here for a reason, and that reason is bigger, heavier, and more powerful than any doubt that has ever whispered inside your mind. This is your reminder that what wakes up in you today can change everything, and the world knows it, even if you do not fully see it yet. You do not realize what you triggered, but they do, and it terrifies them, because the moment you stopped apologizing for your existence, something ancient inside you started to rise. The moment you stopped shrinking yourself to fit inside expectations that were never meant for you, something unshakable began to awaken. The moment you stopped waiting for permission to become who you were always meant to be, the world felt the shift long before you noticed the transformation, and that shift threatened every illusion that was built to keep you small, unseen, and quiet. They felt the weight of your awakening, even in its earliest sparks, and they knew instantly that nothing would be the same again. You triggered something wild, something honest, something unstoppable. And it was not loud at first, it was not dramatic at first, it began like a breath. You forgot. You could take a breath that reached deeper than fear, deeper than insecurity, deeper than the stories you were told about your worth. It began quietly but powerfully, like the slow turning of the earth, steady, relentless, inevitable. And while you may not have seen the change in your own reflection, the world around you saw it clearly. They felt the ground shift under your steps. They sensed the emergence of a strength you once believed you lacked, a strength carved from storms, from nights you cried alone, from moments you thought you were finished, from battles you fought without applause, without witnesses, without comfort. What you triggered was not destruction, it was revelation. You revealed the part of you they hoped you would never discover. You revealed the part of you that knows how to rise without permission, how to grow without guarantees, how to move forward. Even when everything tries to hold you back, you revealed the part of you that carries an ancient quiet confidence, the kind that does not need to shout to be heard, the kind that does not need approval to act, the kind that does not need validation. To continue your awakening is not chaotic. It is controlled, sharpened, precise. And that is exactly why they fear it. Understand this truth. The moment you stopped doubting your strength, the moment you started questioning the limits placed on your life, the moment you began to see yourself not as a mistake, but as a force, the world reacted. People react when they realize they can no longer predict you. They react when they can no longer contain you. They react when they sense that the version of you they could manipulate is gone forever, and what replaces it is someone who listens to their own voice, someone who refuses to bow, someone who rises no matter how many times they were pushed down, someone who knows that their story is not over and never was. You triggered clarity within yourself, and clarity is powerful. Clarity is difficult to control. Clarity shines through every lie you once believed about your worth. Clarity exposes the illusions that made you think you needed to earn acceptance, earn love, earn belonging. Clarity is the beginning of rebirth. And once rebirth begins, there is no turning back. That process terrifies those who benefited from your confusion, those who liked you uncertain, those who preferred you doubting yourself, those who relied on your silence to feel superior, those who felt safer when you did not know who you were becoming, those who needed you small so they could feel significant. But now, you stand in the middle of your own becoming, and the world can feel the shift in your presence even when you say nothing, because your silence now carries weight. Your silence now carries truth. Your silence now carries self-respect. Your silence now carries resilience. Your silence now carries the quiet thunder of a person who refuses to fold again. They sense the storm inside you, but it is not a destructive storm. It is a cleansing one. It does not tear you down. It clears away what was holding you back. It does not burn your identity. It burns the illusions that tried to shape you into someone you were never meant to be. And they fear the strength that grows after survival. They fear the fire that forms after heartbreak. They fear the confidence born from healing. They fear the resilience carved from scars. They fear the wisdom learned from walking through darkness alone. They fear the softness that becomes unbreakable. They fear the quiet person who finally understands their own power, because once you understand your worth, no one can convince you to settle. Once you understand your voice, no one can mute it. Once you understand your purpose, no one can redirect it. Once you understand who you are, no one can distort it. You triggered the version of yourself that no longer bends for convenience, the version of yourself that no longer sacrifices growth to keep others comfortable, the version of yourself that no longer hides to make others feel tall, the version of yourself that no longer doubts their intuition, the version of yourself that no longer runs from truth, the version of yourself that no longer apologizes for being alive. You triggered the version of yourself that finally chooses self-respect over approval, self-belief over fear, self-worth over hesitation. And that version of you is a force they are not prepared to face. You may not see it yet, but they see it clearly. The way you rise differently, the way you speak differently, the way you hold yourself differently, the way you refuse to bend, the way you refuse to be manipulated, the way you refuse to chase what is not meant for you, the way you walk with a strength that was earned, not given. They see the glow in your eyes that was not there before, the glow that comes from surviving the impossible, the glow that comes from walking through pain with integrity, the glow that comes from choosing to heal instead of staying broken, the glow that comes from no longer waiting for someone to save you, the glow that comes from finally choosing yourself. And here is the truth. They do not want you to know. Their fear is not about you hurting them. Their fear is about you outgrowing them, outgrowing the limits they placed on you, outgrowing the expectations they used to control you, outgrowing the roles they tried to assign you, outgrowing the moments they defined you by your lowest points. They fear that your growth will reveal their insecurities. They fear that your strength will expose their weakness. They fear that your transformation will make them confront the truth about themselves, the truth they spent years ignoring. You triggered a future that is no longer shaped by fear, but by intention, by purpose, by authenticity, by courage. And that kind of future is unstoppable. Once awakened, it does not shrink. It does not retreat. It does not apologize. It expands, it moves, it evolves, it rises, and as it rises, it pulls you forward into the person you were always meant to become, a person who honors their own strength, a person who stands tall even when trembling, a person who speaks truth even when afraid, a person who chooses growth even when uncomfortable, a person who keeps moving even when the path is unclear. Every step you take now is a declaration of your arrival. Every step is a reminder that you are not who you used to be. Every step is proof that the world cannot define you by your past. Every step is evidence that you are becoming something extraordinary, something undeniable, something unrepeatable, something powerful. This is what they fear. not your anger, not your revenge, not your reaction. They fear your awakening. They fear your clarity. They fear your unshakable direction. They fear your refusal to be controlled. They fear your ability to rise without their approval. They fear that you have finally realized that you never needed them to validate your worth. Your presence now sends a message that echoes louder than your words ever could. A message that says, I am not here to shrink. I am not here to be small. I am not here to be controlled. I am not here to carry expectations that were never mine. I am not here to repeat cycles that do not serve me. I am not here to dim myself to fit inside someone else's comfort. I am here to rise, and no force on earth can silence that rise anymore. Because once your soul remembers who it is, nothing can make it forget. So keep rising, keep becoming, keep surprising the world with your evolution. Keep stepping into the strength that has been waiting for you. Keep speaking with the voice that was hidden beneath years of doubt. Keep listening to the truth that only you can hear. Keep trusting the intuition that has never abandoned you. Keep honoring the self-respect that is now rooted within you. Keep walking toward the future that felt impossible before you triggered the moment of awakening. And do not stop, because the moment you stop shrinking, the world starts rearranging itself around your new presence. The moment you stop doubting your worth, the universe begins to open paths you once thought were locked. The moment you stop hiding, the people meant for your future begin to recognize you instantly. They fear you now because you cannot be manipulated. They fear you now because you cannot be controlled. They fear you now because you cannot be diminished. They fear you now because you cannot be broken by the same things that once shattered you. They fear you now because you know who you are and who you are becoming. And once a person knows themselves, truly knows themselves, they become unstoppable and unpredictable and unshakable. You triggered something extraordinary, something that will keep unfolding with every step you take, something that promises evolution, growth, transformation, and Borgal and power. And while you may not see the entire picture yet, trust that this awakening is the beginning of the strongest era of your life. The era where you no longer chase, but attract. The era where you no longer beg, but choose. The era where you no longer break, but rebuild. The era where you no longer fear, but stand firm. The era where you no longer question your worth, but live from it fully. This is your rise, and they see it even if you do not. They feel it even if you doubt it. They fear it because they know you are finally stepping into your own destiny. They fear it because they know they cannot stop it. They fear it because they know your awakening will change everything. And you may not realize what you triggered, but they do. And it terrifies them. They thought your silence was weakness, but now they understand it was preparation. Your quiet moments were never empty. Your stillness was never surrender. Those were the hours where your mind rebuilt itself piece by piece. Those were the hours where your spirit gathered strength without needing to prove anything to anyone. Those were the hours where your future began forming in the dark, long before anyone could see it, including you. Your silence was the moment the seed cracked beneath the soil. Unseen, unheard, but inevitable. And now that you have risen from that soil, nothing can bury you again. You do not realize what you triggered because you have not fully stepped into the version of yourself that is coming. You are standing at the doorway of a new life, one built from truth instead of fear, one built from courage instead of hesitation, one built from intention instead of survival. And as that door opens wider, the world around you begins to shift. The people who underestimated you feel the difference. First, they sense the change in your energy. They sense the new steadiness in your steps. They sense the awakening in your presence, and they do not know how to respond because for the first time, They are witnessing a you that does not bend, a you that does not break, a you that does not retreat. They see you standing taller, even when you say nothing. They see you protecting your peace without apology. They see you choosing your path instead of following theirs. They see you creating distance where once you allowed chaos. They see you walking away from cycles that once consumed you. They see you outgrowing the very spaces you used to shrink inside. And that transformation reveals a truth they never expected you to discover. You were never the weak one. You were never the fragile one. You were never the easy one. Your heart was powerful. Your faith was powerful. Your resilience was powerful. And now that power is showing, without filters, without hesitation, without permission. Your growth becomes a mirror, and mirrors make people uncomfortable because they reveal what is real, not what is convenient. Your evolution forces others to see where they stopped, evolving your confidence, exposes where they still cling to insecurity. Your clarity uncovers where they rely on confusion. Your strength highlights where they collapsed. Your courage brings light to the places they refuse to confront, and that reflection is terrifying to those who built their identity on your uncertainty. Understand this clearly. Their fear is not your responsibility. Their fear is not a warning. Their fear is not a sign for you to shrink. Again, their fear is simply proof that you have entered a new stage of your own becoming. And in this stage you are untouchable, not because you are perfect, but because you are aligned with your truth, aligned with your purpose, aligned with the strength you earned, aligned with the clarity that came from surviving everything they never saw, aligned with the future that is calling your name with force. You triggered the moment where you finally stopped negotiating your worth, where you finally stopped watering dead connections, where you finally stop trying to save people who choose their own limitations, where you finally stop carrying burdens that were never yours, where you finally stop fighting battles that drain your soul, where you finally stop shrinking for spaces that were too small for you from the beginning. And when a person reaches this moment, the world around them reacts, because this version of you cannot be controlled. This version of you cannot be predicted. This version of you cannot be misled. Your rise becomes a declaration that you are no longer available for anything that dims your spirit. You are no longer available for anything that dishonors your journey. You are no longer available for anything that asks you to betray yourself. And that decision carries a silent power that echoes through every part of your life. Once you choose yourself fully, the world has no choice but to adjust, and that adjustment is what terrifies them. You are stepping into the kind of energy that does not chase. It attracts the kind of energy that does not cling. It releases the kind of energy that does not beg. It chooses the kind of energy that does not break it, bends and grows the kind of energy that does not fear endings because it knows endings create space for beginnings. You are stepping into the kind of power that cannot be taken because it was never given. It was awakened through pain, awakened through loss, awakened through disappointment, awakened through every moment you thought you were not enough until you discovered that you always were. And they feel this awakening like a shift in the air. They feel the intensity of your presence, even when you walk softly. They feel the steadiness of your spirit, even when you are quiet. They feel the depth of your intention, even when you say nothing, because true strength is felt, not announced. True power is lived, not displayed. True transformation is sensed, not explained. And everything about you now speaks in a language they cannot ignore. You may still feel unsure at times. You may still feel afraid. You may still feel like you are figuring yourself out. But do not mistake that feeling for weakness. You are in a stage of becoming, and becoming is messy. Becoming is uncertain. Becoming feels like standing between who you were and who you are destined to be. But even in this in-between space, your energy is stronger than it has ever been, because you are no longer moving from fear. You are moving from awareness, and that shift is everything. They fear you because you are no longer available for the version of life that kept you stagnant. You are no longer attracted to chaos. You are no longer controlled by guilt. You are no longer pulled into battles designed to distract you. You are no longer influenced by opinions built on insecurity. You are no longer shaped by expectations that never reflected who you truly are. And when a person reaches this level, they become unmistakable. They become unforgettable. They become unstoppable. You triggered the rise of a version of yourself that will build a future from intention instead of survival. This version will speak truth. Even when shaking, this version will walk away from what hurts, even when attached. This version will believe in themselves, even when others doubt. This version will hold boundaries that protect their spirit. This version will see opportunity where others see endings. This version will keep moving forward, even when the path is uncertain, because you finally understand that uncertainty is not a threat. Uncertainty is a doorway. You triggered the moment your life begins shifting in your favor, not because luck arrived, but because alignment arrived. You are aligning with strength you forgot you had. You are aligning with wisdom earned through experience. You are aligning with the fire that never left you. You are aligning with the deepest parts of who you truly are. And as you align, everything that does not match that frequency falls away naturally, without force, without drama, without conflict, because what is not meant for you cannot stay, and what is meant for you cannot be taken. They fear your awakening because awakened people become impossible to manipulate. Awakened people become impossible to diminish. Awakened people become impossible to control. But most importantly, awakened people become fully themselves. And there is nothing more powerful on this earth than a person who finally knows who they are and refuses to return to the version of themselves created from fear, rejection, or doubt. So step forward now, not timidly but boldly. Step forward with the awareness that you have survived every ending. Step forward with the understanding that you were shaped by storms, not broken by them. Step forward with the truth that you carry resilience in your bones and determination in your heartbeat. Step forward knowing that everything ahead of you requires the version of you that has finally awakened. Step forward, because the world is already reacting to your rise even before you realize how high you are about to climb. You do not realize what you triggered, but you will. Soon, you will feel it in your decisions. You will feel it in your confidence. You will feel it in your boundary. You will feel it in your peace. You will feel it in the way you no longer bend to fit into places you have outgrown. You will feel it in the way your energy no longer allows people to drain you. You will feel it in the way your soul refuses to stay where it was, once stuck. You will feel it in the way life begins shifting, moving, rearranging itself around your new strength. They are terrified because they see the rise before you fully recognize it. They see the power before you fully wield it. They see the transformation before you fully understand it. My delightful audience, first of all, happy Christmas, and now, welcome back. Today we unravel the sinister tapestry of lies, where shadows weave and truth is kept prisoner in the depths of silence. Let me tell you something that most people don't want you to understand. They want you to stay silent. They want you to cower in fear, to never raise your voice, to hide your power under the guise of conformity. They want you to believe that your voice is too small, too weak, too insignificant. But the truth is, they are terrified. They know your voice is a weapon capable of destroying everything they've built, a weapon capable of exposing their lies, their manipulations, and their illusions. They know that once you find your voice, once you speak the truth, once you stand tall and refuse to be silenced, it is the end of their control, the end of their reign over you. You see, the world has been constructed on a foundation of lies. Lies told to keep you in your place. Lies told to keep you quiet. Lies told to convince you that you are not enough. You've been told that your dreams are too big, that your goals are unreachable, that you are nothing more than a cog in the machine, a piece of the puzzle that doesn't matter. They don't want you to speak because they fear that you will uncover the truth of your potential, the truth of your power. They fear that if you speak, the illusion will shatter, and the reality of their control will be exposed for all to see. But understand this, they are not afraid of your silence. They are afraid of your voice. They know that your voice is more powerful than any weapon they can wield. Your voice can rally the masses, can inspire a revolution, can tear down the walls they have carefully constructed around you. Your voice can pierce through the darkness and expose the truth for what it is. That is why they try to silence you. They know that once you speak, once you open your mouth and unleash the truth, they have no defense. They can't hide from the truth. They can't control the truth. The truth is a force far more powerful than any system they have built. And that is why they fear it. They want you to stay silent because they know that when you speak, you become a force to be reckoned with. You become an unstoppable force, a force that cannot be ignored. When you speak, you are no longer invisible. You are no longer just another face in the crowd. You are a person with a voice, a person with something to say. And when you speak, people will listen. The world will listen. And that scares them. That scares them because once you find your voice, once you stand up and refuse to be silent, you will expose them for what they truly are. You will tear down their walls, you will shatter their illusions, and you will free yourself from the chains they have placed around you. But here's the thing, they can't keep you silent forever. They can try, they can manipulate, they can control. But the truth is, your voice is a force that cannot be stopped. They can try to stifle you, to silence you, but they cannot kill your spirit. They cannot kill your will to speak, to stand up, to fight for what is right. No matter how hard they try, no matter how much they push you down, you will rise again. You will find your voice, and when you do, they won't know what hit them. Now, let's talk about the cost of silence. When you choose to stay silent, when you choose to swallow your words and suppress your thoughts, you are allowing them to win. You are giving them permission to continue their reign of lies and manipulation. You are allowing them to control your life, your thoughts, your actions. You are allowing them to dictate your reality, to tell you what is true and what is not. You are allowing them to strip away your power, your freedom, your agency. You are giving them the power to shape your world, to create a reality in which you are nothing more than a puppet, a pawn in their game. But when you find your voice, when you speak the truth, when you refuse to be silent, you take back your power. You take back control of your life. You reclaim your freedom. You stop being a passive observer of your own existence and start being an active participant in the creation of your reality. You begin to shape the world around you, to create the life you want to live, to build the future you want to see. You become the master of your own fate, the captain of your own soul, and that is exactly what they are afraid of. They are afraid of the power you will unleash when you speak. They are afraid of the change you will bring. They are afraid that when you find your voice, you will inspire others to do the same. They are afraid that your voice will spark a movement a revolution that will tear down everything they have built. They are afraid that you will awaken the masses, that you will inspire people to rise up and demand their rights, their freedom, their dignity. They are afraid that when you speak, the whole world will listen and they will no longer be able to hide behind their lies. They want you to stay silent because they know that silence is their ally. Silence allows them to maintain control. Silence allows them to continue their manipulations without anyone questioning them. Silence allows them to operate in the shadows, free from scrutiny, free from accountability. Silence allows them to maintain the status quo, to keep things the way they are, to keep you in your place. But silence is also a prison that you have built for yourself. And as long as you remain silent, you remain trapped in that prison, unable to break free, unable to live the life you were meant to live. But you don't have to stay silent. You don't have to remain trapped in that prison. You have the power to break free. You have the power to speak your truth, to stand up and refuse to be silenced. You have the power to challenge the lies, to expose the truth, and to change the world. Your voice is the key to your freedom. Your voice is the key to unlocking your potential, to creating the life you deserve. Your voice is the key to tearing down the walls that have kept you confined, to shattering the illusions that have kept you in the dark. You are not weak. You are not insignificant. You are not powerless. You are a force to be reckoned with. And when you find your voice, when you speak your truth, you will realize just how powerful you really are. The world will take notice. The world will listen. And the world will change. But you must first find the courage to speak. You must first find the strength to stand up and say, I will not be silent. I will not be afraid. I will speak my truth, no matter the cost. Because the cost of silence is far greater than the cost of speaking. The cost of silence is the loss of your freedom, your dignity, your power. The cost of silence is the destruction of your soul. The cost of silence is the acceptance of a life that is not yours, a life that has been dictated to you by others. The cost of silence is the death of your dreams, the death of your potential, the death of your future. And that is a price you should never be willing to pay. So my friends, don't be afraid to speak. Don't be afraid to raise your voice, to challenge the lies, to expose the truth. Don't be afraid to stand up and say, I am here. I matter. I will not be silenced. Because the moment you find your voice, the moment you speak the truth, that is the moment your power is unleashed. That is the moment you become unstoppable. And that is the moment they will fear you. They want you to stay silent. They want you to believe that you have no power. They want you to remain invisible, to remain complacent, to remain in the shadows. But the truth is, you have the power to destroy them. You have the power to expose their lies, to tear down their walls, to shatter their illusions. You have the power to change the world. And when you speak, when you find your voice, they will have no choice but to listen. So don't stay silent. Speak and watch as the world changes around you. They want you to stay silent because they know your voice is a threat. But they don't just fear the sound of your words. They fear what your words represent. Your voice is not merely noise. It is the power to unearth secrets, the power to expose corruption, to challenge the status quo, to demand justice. It is the power to shift paradigms and alter the course of history. They know that the moment you speak, the illusion of their control will begin to crumble. The fragile, twisted webs they've woven to keep you submissive will snap, and the truth will flood the world with a force that nothing can stop. This is why they want to suppress your voice at all costs. From the moment you are born, they teach you to conform, to blend into the background, to obey without question. They tell you that you must follow the rules, that you must stay in line, that you must never speak out of turn. They condition you to believe that your thoughts, your ideas, your perspective don't matter, that you're just a cog in a machine designed for efficiency, productivity, and obedience. But they are wrong. You were not born to be a cog. You were not born to be silenced. You were born to speak, to create, to challenge, and to change. Your voice is not just an instrument for communication. It is an instrument of revolution. And that is exactly what they fear. They fear that one day you will realize the vast potential that lies within you, that you will come to understand that you have the power to not just navigate this world, but to reshape it. They know that once you find your voice, they will no longer be able to keep you in the dark. They will no longer be able to keep you subjugated. This is the reality we are living in, a reality built on lies, where truth is suppressed and people are kept in a state of ignorance. Look around you. Look at the structures of power that have been created to maintain the status quo. Look at the systems that have been put in place to keep you in check. These systems are not there for your benefit. They are there to ensure that those in power stay in power. They are there to prevent you from rising up and challenging their rule. They want you to stay silent because they know that once you speak, you will awaken a force that they cannot control. But this is not just about those in power. This is about you, the individual. You have been conditioned for years to remain passive, to remain quiet, to suppress your thoughts and feelings. You have been told that you are not worthy of being heard, that your voice does not matter. You have been led to believe that the opinions of others are more important than your own, that your ideas are irrelevant, that your voice is insignificant. And slowly, over time, this silence becomes your prison. But it is a prison of your own making. You have been given the keys to escape. You just have to find them. You have to find the courage to speak. You have to find the strength to raise your voice, to declare your truth, to challenge the lies that have kept you shackled. The moment you decide to speak, the moment you find the power within yourself to open your mouth and let your truth be known, everything changes. Your voice is not just yours. It belongs to everyone who has been silenced, to everyone who has been oppressed, to everyone who has been told that their voice doesn't matter. When you speak, you are not just speaking for yourself. You are speaking for the countless others who have been made to believe that their words are worthless. When you raise your voice, you are shining a light on the darkness that has kept them hidden, and you are giving them permission to speak as well. Your voice becomes a beacon of hope, a rallying cry for those who have been afraid to speak their truth. And when you speak, they will try to silence you. They will do everything in their power to drown you out. They will call you crazy, delusional, or even dangerous. They will label you a threat to the system, a threat to the established order. They will try to make you feel small, insignificant, and powerless. But here's the truth. They only do this because they know your voice is dangerous. They know that once you start speaking, others will follow. They know that your words have the power to ignite a fire in the hearts of those who have been kept in the dark for too long. You see, silence is not a virtue. Silence is submission. Silence is compliance. Silence is the acceptance of oppression. When you remain silent, you are giving them permission to continue their reign. You are allowing them to maintain control over your life, over your thoughts, over your future. You are allowing them to continue spreading their lies, their deceit, and their manipulation. You are allowing them to continue enslaving you, to continue keeping you in the dark, to continue preventing you from realizing your full potential. But when you find your voice, when you speak out, when you refuse to be silenced, you break free from the chains that have kept you bound. You take control of your life. You reclaim your power. You challenge the lies and expose the truth. You become a force to be reckoned with, a force that cannot be ignored. Your voice becomes a weapon that can cut through the lies and bring the truth to light. This is not just about speaking for the sake of speaking. This is about speaking the truth. This is about exposing the reality of the world we live in, a world that has been built on lies and manipulation. This is about breaking through the illusions that have been created to keep us in check, to keep us from realizing our potential, to keep us from challenging the systems that have been put in place to control us. The world is full of lies, and those in power thrive on these lies. They thrive on the silence of the masses. They thrive on the apathy and the ignorance of the people. They thrive on the idea that we will never speak out, that we will never challenge their authority, that we will never question their actions. They want us to believe that we are powerless, that we cannot change the world, that we cannot make a difference. They want us to believe that we are too small, too insignificant to ever have an impact. But the truth is, the power has always been with us. The power has always been within you. The moment you find your voice, the moment you start speaking the truth, the moment you refuse to be silent, you become a force to be reckoned with. The moment you speak, you awaken a power that has been lying dormant inside you. You unleash the force that has the ability to change the world. So, what are you waiting for? Why are you still silent? Why are you still allowing them to control your thoughts, your words, your life? Why are you still allowing them to dictate your reality? The truth is, you have the power to change everything. You have the power to expose the lies, to challenge the systems, to fight for what is right. But you have to speak. You have to find your voice. They fear your voice because they know that once you speak, the world will never be the same. They fear your voice because they know that once you speak, the truth will come pouring out, and there will be no turning back. They fear your voice because they know that your words have the power to shake the very foundation of the world they have built. They fear your voice because they know that once you speak, you will become a force of unstoppable change. So speak. Speak your truth. Speak for yourself. Speak for those who have been silenced. Speak for the future. Speak for the world that is waiting for your voice. Because when you speak, when you refuse to stay silent, you become the spark that ignites a revolution. You become the change that the world so desperately needs. Never forget this. Your voice is powerful. Your voice is a weapon. Your voice is the key to breaking free from the chains that have kept you bound. They want you to stay silent because they know that when you speak, you will destroy everything they have worked so hard to build. And that, my friends, is why you must never, ever stay silent. You see, the fear they have is rooted in something much deeper. It's not just the sound of your voice they dread. It's what your voice represents. Autonomy, power, the refusal to be molded and controlled. It's the truth in your words, the untamed force behind your expressions, and the undeniable presence you bring into any space. They want you to remain silent because in silence, you become invisible. You become a non-entity, a blank canvas upon which their version of the world can be painted. They want you to believe that being silent is the safest choice, the most comfortable choice, because in silence, you are not a threat. You are not a challenge to their narrative. But let me be clear, silence is the greatest weapon of those who seek to control you. It is in your silence that they thrive. When you remain quiet, when you suppress your thoughts, when you accept the world around you as it is without questioning it, you give them more power. You give them permission to shape the world in their image, to continue manipulating the truth, to maintain their false narratives. They need you to stay silent because it is in your silence that they can keep you where they want you, in the dark, ignorant, and powerless. However, the moment you choose to speak, the moment you refuse to remain passive, everything shifts. They lose their power. The illusion of control begins to unravel. Your voice becomes a beacon of light in the darkness, a lighthouse guiding others toward truth. And that is why they fear it so deeply. Because once the truth begins to emerge, once it finds its way into the open, there is no stopping it. The light cannot be extinguished. They cannot bury it, they cannot hide it, and they certainly cannot silence it. Think about it for a moment. Who benefits from your silence? Who benefits from your compliance? It is not you. It is not the people around you. It is not your community, your society, or your world. The ones who benefit from your silence are the ones who have something to hide. The ones who benefit from your compliance are the ones who fear what would happen if you ever spoke up, if you ever exposed the reality that they have worked so tirelessly to cover up. The truth is simple. Silence is their shield, and your voice is their greatest enemy. They have built a fortress around their lies, using silence to keep the truth at bay. And as long as you stay silent, as long as you keep quiet, they are safe. But the moment you speak, the moment you stand up and say, "No, this is not right," their fortress begins to crumble. Their lies begin to fall apart. Their manipulation becomes exposed, and their power over you dissipates. Your voice is the weapon that shatters their illusion, and this is why they will fight to keep you silent. They will manipulate you. They will try to convince you that speaking out is dangerous, that it will cost you too much. They will tell you that your voice doesn't matter, that no one will listen, that you're too small to make a difference. They will use every tactic at their disposal to make you doubt yourself, to make you question your worth, to make you fear the consequences of speaking up. They want you to believe that staying silent is the only way to survive, the only way to fit in, the only way to avoid confrontation. But do not be fooled by their lies. The truth is, staying silent is not survival. It is surrender. It is surrendering your power, your autonomy, your sense of self. It is giving in to a system that does not have your best interests at heart. It is accepting the false narratives that have been constructed to keep you obedient and docile. It is agreeing to live in a world where you have no voice, no agency, no control over your own life. When you remain silent, you are allowing others to dictate your reality. You are allowing them to tell you who you are, what you should believe, and what you should do. You are allowing them to control your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, and your destiny. You are allowing them to decide what is true and what is false. And once they have control over your mind, they have control over everything else. They control the narrative. They control the systems of power. They control the information that reaches you. They control the way you see yourself and the world around you. But when you find your voice, when you refuse to stay silent, everything changes. You no longer allow them to control your reality. You take back the reins of your own life. You begin to speak your truth, and in doing so, you invite others to do the same. Your voice becomes a catalyst for change. It becomes a rallying cry for those who have been silenced, for those who have been oppressed, for those who have been told that they are not enough. Your voice becomes a force that cannot be ignored. When you speak, you force them to confront the truth. You force them to acknowledge the reality they have been trying to hide. You force them to face the consequences of their actions. And when you speak the truth, it is not just a personal victory. It is a victory for everyone who has been silenced, for everyone who has been made to feel insignificant, for everyone who has been made to believe that their voice doesn't matter. Your voice gives them the permission they need to find their own voice. It gives them the courage to speak out, to challenge the lies, and to fight for their own freedom. This is the power of your voice. It is not just a tool for self-expression. It is a tool for liberation. It is a tool for awakening. It is a tool for shaking the very foundations of the world that has been constructed to keep you and others oppressed. When you speak, you become a part of something much larger than yourself. You become a part of a movement, a revolution, a collective force that has the potential to change the world. And they know this. They know that your voice is not just your own. It is the voice of millions who have been waiting for someone to speak out, for someone to challenge the system, for someone to expose the lies. They know that once you speak, once you start to question their narrative, once you start to push back against their control, the tide will turn, the balance of power will shift, and the world will never be the same again. This is why they will try to silence you. They will try to manipulate you. They will try to make you doubt yourself, to make you feel like you are too small, too weak, too insignificant to make a difference. They will try to convince you that speaking out is dangerous, that it will only bring harm, that it will only cause problems. They will tell you that you will be alone, that no one will support you, that you will be punished for your actions. But do not listen to them. Do not believe their lies. Do not let them convince you that your voice doesn't matter. Your voice matters more than anything. Your voice is the key to your freedom. Your voice is the key to breaking free from the chains that have held you captive for so long. Your voice is the key to creating a world where truth and justice can prevail. They want you to stay silent because they know that when you speak, you will destroy everything they have built. They fear your voice because they know it is the end of their control. They fear the power you hold within you, the power to change the world, to expose the truth, to challenge the lies. They fear your strength, your courage, and your ability to stand tall in the face of adversity. But I'm here to tell you that it is time to speak. It is time to find your voice. It is time to stand up and say, I will not be silent. I will not be afraid. I will speak my truth, and I will not let anyone silence me. Because when you speak, you unleash a power that they cannot control. You become unstoppable. You become the force that will change the world. In conclusion, never let them convince you that silence is the safe path. Your voice is not just yours. It is a weapon, a force of truth, and the key to unlocking the world's potential for change. They fear your voice because it has the power to destroy the lies that bind you and reshape the future. The moment you speak, you take back your power, and nothing can stop you. So find your voice, speak your truth, and remember that in your words lies the power to ignite a revolution. Never be silent. The world needs to hear you. There is a moment in life when the world goes silent and you feel something ancient inside you rise without a name or a face. And that simple truth hits harder than anything you have ever carried. You have no idea who you truly are. Yet, your presence is known by forces that existed before your first breath and will remain long after your last. You might think you walk this world alone, but every step you take rings like a signal through the unseen, and every choice you make paints a shape around your soul. You are being watched, not with fear, not with judgment, but with the awareness of something powerful, returning from a long, forgotten path. If this message reaches you, then let your heart stay open, and if it touches you in any way, please support this space by liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment, because these words grow stronger when you stand with them. There are days you feel small, days you feel lost, days you feel like you are simply repeating someone else's story. Yet something beneath those layers pulses with a force you cannot deny. Something in you remembers what you do not. Something in you hears what the world tries to drown out. There is a truth inside you that refuses to stay quiet. You see, the physical world shows you only the surface, but the spirit realm shows the echoes of your real shape. The shadows that follow you do not follow your body. They follow your essence. They follow your return. Because the moment you entered this lifetime, old currents awakened like tides, recognizing the pull of their moon. They knew you before you spoke a word. They knew the spark you carried. They knew the journey you were destined to walk again. You are not who you think. You are not the sum of fears, doubts, or the past you drag behind you. You are not limited by the name you were given or the labels the world placed on you. You are something older, something deeper, something that the unseen world recognizes with absolute clarity. Long before you understood yourself, the realm beyond understood exactly what had arrived. There are forces that rise to greet you, not because they fear you, but because they remember you. They know your strength, even when you feel weak. They know your purpose, even when you feel directionless. They know your spirit, even when you feel lost in your own reflection. They respond to your presence because you came back carrying something unfinished, something important, something only you could complete. Every challenge you face is not a punishment. It is a reminder, a signal, a call from the realms beyond telling you, wake up. You are more than this. You have been more than this, and you will become more than this again. They are not testing your suffering. They are testing your recognition. They wait to see if you will finally remember what they already know. And perhaps you feel that heaviness, that strange pressure around your life, the sense that something is trying to reach you. It is not your imagination. It is not random emotion. It is the pull of old truths trying to break through the noise of your current world. Because deep within you, something ancient is stirring. Something that once carried power without fear and purpose, without confusion. You returned with depth far beyond what the world expects of you. You returned with a spirit that has walked through storms in lifetimes forgotten. You returned holding wisdom you have not yet unlocked, but the unseen realm senses it like a pulse flashing through the dark. They know the moment you awaken fully, the moment you remember who you are, the path around you will shift and the world will feel it. There will come a moment when you stop questioning the strange intuition inside you and start trusting it. There will come a moment when you stop shrinking yourself to fit a world you were never built for. There will come a moment when the echoes of your spirit grow louder than the opinions of others. That is the moment the realm beyond has been waiting for. That is the moment when you rise into the identity that has always been yours. You are not an accident. You are not a coincidence. You did not simply appear. You returned. And the very act of returning means something was left undone, or something significant was chosen by you, long before your current memory began. The journey you walk now is tied to threads far older than this lifetime, and every instinct you feel is a clue. Every struggle, a sign. Every breakthrough, a message. Even your pain is part of that message. Pain is the fire that shapes identity. Pain is the storm that brings clarity. Pain is the voice that whispers, "You are stronger than you believe. You have carried more than you remember." Every tear holds a lock. Every victory holds a key. And slowly, piece by piece, who you truly are begins to rise from beneath the ashes of who you thought you were. You must understand that the world around you tries to make you forget your depth. It pushes distractions, noise, doubts, pressures and expectations, all in an effort to keep you small. But the unseen realm is louder than you realize. It sends signs, synchronicities, visions, dreams, and moments that feel too heavy or too familiar, because they are reminders. They are messages repeating themselves until you finally recognize the truth they carry. And the truth is simple. You are not who you think. You are far more than your mind allows you to see. You are a returner, not a beginner. You are a carrier, not an imitator. You are a soul that has crossed through countless gates and chosen this moment, this lifetime, this body, for reasons that will reveal themselves when you learn to trust your inner echo. You are being guided even when you feel alone. You are being watched over even when you feel forgotten. You are being prepared, even when you feel delayed. Nothing around you is random. Nothing within you is accidental. Every moment of silence, every surge of emotion, every spark of intuition, every sudden shift in your path exists because you are being shaped into the version of yourself that the realm recognizes fully, even when you do not. You are powerful beyond measure, but that power is not loud. It is not dramatic. It does not need chaos to prove itself. True strength is silent. True purpose is steady. True identity is ancient. It flows through you quietly, waiting for you to grow into it, waiting for you to acknowledge it, waiting for you to finally see yourself the way the unseen realm already does. And there will come a day when all the confusion you carry now turns into understanding, when all the heaviness turns into direction, when all the questions turn into answers, when all the shadows turn into guides that lead you back to the center of yourself. That day is not far. The shift is already happening within you, even if you cannot name it yet. This world may not see the depth of your spirit, but the realm beyond does. They recognized you the moment you stepped into this lifetime. They felt your return. They felt your signature, your energy, your memory. They knew the storms you survived, the strength you forged, the lessons you carried. They knew you were not coming back empty. They knew you came back with intention. You have zero clue who you truly are on the deepest spiritual level, but they know, they always have. And now it is time for you to learn. It is time to rise into the truth you carry. It is time to let your spirit remember its own strength, its own light, its own purpose. You did not come here to be ordinary. You did not come here to be unseen. You came because something in the realm beyond trusted you with a role only you could fulfill. You are not who you think you are, something far greater. And the moment you accept that truth, the world around you will shift the path before you will open, and the identity that has been waiting in the dark will step forward and take its rightful place. And as you move forward, you will feel the weight of every moment call to something inside you that you cannot name, yet cannot ignore, because your soul reacts before your mind understands. It reacts because it remembers. It reacts because every step you take is not just a step in this life, but a vibration sent through the unseen world that has watched your return with anticipation. They know the shape of your destiny long before you trace it. They know the power you hold long before you dare to touch it. There is a reason you feel things deeper than others, a reason certain places feel familiar, a reason certain people feel like echoes, a reason certain dreams stay with you long after you wake. These are not accidents. They are fragments of a memory that your spirit hides behind the veil, waiting for the moment you grow calm enough, strong enough, aware enough to receive what has always been yours. When you start listening, instead of resisting, the truth begins to rise in you, like dawn breaking through an endless night. Every time you sense that invisible pull, every time your heart tugs towards something you cannot explain, every time you feel a presence that makes your soul shift, it is because the realm beyond is calling to what you used to be. It whispers not with fear, but with recognition, because in that realm, your identity is not lost, only folded, waiting for you to open it again. They wait in silence, watching, wondering if this lifetime will be the one where you finally awaken fully. You underestimate yourself because the world taught you to. You forgot your strength because you were taught to survive instead of remember. Yet nothing in you was ever meant to be small. You carry energies that do not belong to this age. You carry wisdom that does not match your years. You carry fire that does not burn like ordinary passion. It is older. It is deeper. It is part of who you were long before you became who you are. There will be nights when your spirit feels restless, as if something is trying to surface from a place you cannot see. Nights when you feel watched, not by danger but by awareness. Nights when your dreams feel like messages. Instead of running from them, let them speak. They come from the realm that knows your true name, the realm that honored your return before you even breathed in this lifetime. They show you pieces of your forgotten identity through symbols and shadows and echoes that only your soul can translate. And slowly, you begin to notice the shift. You begin to move differently. You begin to sense things others cannot. You begin to feel the weight of your presence. You begin to see meaning in moments that once felt empty. This is not imagination. This is awakening. Your spirit is stepping forward piece by piece, as if reminding your body that it was never meant to walk this world without guidance from within. There will be moments when people around you grow unsettled without knowing why. It is because they feel the energy you carry, even when you do not. They feel the depth in your silence. They feel the history in your gaze. They feel the presence that walks with you. They cannot explain it, but they sense it because your identity touches the unseen, and the unseen touches everything around you. Without effort, the truth is simple. You did not come here to be hidden. You did not come here to be confused forever. You came here to rise and to reclaim a strength you once carried so naturally that the realm still bows at the memory of it. They do not wait for you because they doubt you. They wait because they respect you. They wait because they know you. They wait because when you finally awaken, you will shift. Not only your own life, but the paths of those connected to your destiny. You will rise into clarity. You will rise into purpose. You will rise into recognition. You will rise into the version of yourself that the spirit realm already honors. The confusion you feel now is not weakness. It is birth. The shadows around you are not threats. They are guides. The heaviness you carry is not punishment. It is preparation. You are being shaped into the identity that has waited lifetimes to return. And when the moment of realization comes, when you finally feel the truth, click into place when you sense the full weight of who you are, rise to the surface. Everything around you will respond. Paths will open. People will shift. Doors that once refused you will fall away because they were never meant for the true version of you. They belong to a smaller identity, one you have finally outgrown. The realm beyond will feel the change before anyone else. They will sense the awakening. They will whisper, "Your return is complete." They will recognize the power that has finally risen in you. They will align the path you were meant to walk. They will guide the steps you were born to take. Because you are not ordinary. You never were. You returned as something the unseen world remembers clearly, even when you do not. And soon you will know why. And soon you will see why. And soon you will rise into everything they already know about you. There will come a moment when your breathing slows and you feel something shift deep behind your chest. A quiet awakening that does not shout, yet feels louder than anything you have ever known. It is the moment your soul steps forward and your mind finally realizes that you were never walking alone. You were never living blind. You were never lost. You were simply unfolding at the pace your spirit could handle. You will notice how certain thoughts feel like they do not belong to this lifetime. Thoughts filled with depth or ancient knowing or a strange sense of direction that rises out of nowhere. This is your spirit speaking. This is the memory of who you used to be, trying to guide the person you are becoming. It does not use language. It uses recognition. It uses the pull of intuition, the weight of emotion, the spark of sudden clarity. And when you follow these moments, something begins to align around you. paths you did not expect, open people you were meant to meet appear, signs grow louder, synchronicities repeat, until you understand that these are not coincidences, they are reminders. They are the realm beyond saying, "You see, we have always been here. We have always known you." Others might not understand your shifts, and that is because they cannot see the invisible world working behind your steps. They cannot feel the power that rises through you like an old storm, regaining its voice. They cannot sense the presence that follows you, the one that knew your identity long before your first breath in this lifetime. They may misjudge you, misunderstand you, underestimate you, but the spirit realm never has. There is a sacred fire inside you that refuses to go out no matter how heavy life becomes. It flickers during your darkest nights, but it never dies because it is not from this world. It is from where you came from. It is from the realm that shaped you, formed you, strengthened you, and finally sent you back with purpose. Your challenges do not weaken this fire. They forge it, they polish it, they make it sharper and clearer. You may feel alone in your struggle, but you are not truly alone. Your soul carries imprints of battles fought long before this lifetime, and victories earned in places your waking mind cannot access. Yet the realm beyond remembers every moment. They remember your courage, they remember your rise, they remember your spirit, refusing to break even when everything around you demanded surrender. And that is why you were sent back with this weight. You were trusted with it, you were chosen for it, you were shaped for it. The world may not see your strength, but the unseen world sees it as clearly as light, cutting through darkness. They know you are capable of more than you ever admit to yourself, because they watched you carry more than this in ages before. There will be moments when the world around you begins to move differently, as if responding to a signal only you radiate. Doors will open with ease, people will appear with timing too perfect. Purpose will start to take shape, not through force, but through flow. This is the realm aligning. You are stepping back into the frequency of who you truly are, and reality must adjust itself around that truth. The power of remembering who you are is not loud. It is steady. It is calm. It is ancient. It is the kind of power that does not need to announce itself, because existence already recognizes it. You do not need to prove anything. You only need to become what you already are. You only need to let your spirit rise without fear, without doubt, without shrinking into the version of yourself the world tried to mold. When this awakening settles in your heart, the fear you once carried will transform into vision. The confusion you once drowned in will become understanding. The pain you once feared will become the tool that shaped your identity. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is meaningless. Every moment has led you to this unfolding of truth. You are not who you think you are, not limited by your past or your mistakes or your doubts. You are a returning soul carrying unfinished purpose, carrying forgotten power, carrying invisible marks of battles, won in realms others cannot see. You have been recognized since the moment you stepped back into this world, and every challenge you face is proof of the strength you were trusted with. And soon the final layer will fall away. The fog will lift. The voice inside you will grow louder. The feeling of being lost will turn into the realization that you were actually being guided the entire time. You were being pulled into the identity that the realm beyond has always known clearly. They know who you are. They know what you carry. They know what you were born to rise into. And soon you will too. There will be a day when your spirit finally stops whispering and begins to speak with a strength you cannot ignore, a strength that rises from the deepest place inside you, where truth has been sleeping. The world may not understand this shift, but you will feel it, like a quiet thunder moving through your bones, reminding you that your identity is not built from fear, but from something far older and far stronger than anything you have ever faced. You will notice moments when your emotions surge without reason, moments when your heart feels heavy, as if carrying stories your mind does not remember. These are not random feelings. They are echoes of your spiritual memory, surfacing piece by piece, trying to show you who you were before you became who you are now. You are not losing yourself. You are meeting yourself. There is a reason certain paths call to you, and you do not know why. A reason certain fears feel ancient. A reason certain strengths appear in you without being taught. This is the history of your spirit trying to return to the surface. The realm beyond sees this awakening. They see the layers falling away. They feel the vibration of your memory rising, like a forgotten tide returning to shore. And there will be people who feel uneasy around you without understanding why. It is not because you carry harm. It is because you carry depth. They sense something in you that does not match your age or your story. They sense the part of you that does not belong to the ordinary world. They sense the presence that walks with you, one that has known you far longer than anyone in your current life. You do not have to prove your worth. Your soul already carries the marks of everything you survived in places beyond this lifetime. The spirit realm remembers your endurance, your courage, your fire. They recognize the blueprint of your strength, even when you feel fragile. They know exactly why you returned. They know what you came to complete, and they know you are capable even when doubt clouds your mind, and soon you will feel that shift within yourself. The moment when you stop searching outside for identity and begin listening inward. The moment when your intuition grows louder than your fear. The moment when you stop being pulled by the expectations of others and instead become anchored in the truth, rising from within you. This moment is not far. It is already moving through you quietly, steadily, patiently. Your pain has not been without meaning. Oh, they thought they were untouchable, didn't they? Thought they held all the cards, played all the strings, and controlled the game. They looked at you with smug arrogance, believing their power, their influence, their money, their fame, gave them a status beyond any reckoning, a stature that made them untouchable, a force so mighty no one dared defy them. They were wrong. They believed themselves to be above it all, to be standing on the summit of existence, with all the pieces neatly aligned under their feet. And yet, the very ground beneath them was already eroding, the foundation crumbling under the weight of their delusion. There is a certain kind of blindness that comes with success, a kind of blindness that wraps itself in the plush velvet of control and dominance. They thought they could shape the world in their image, bend every person to their will, make every obstacle vanish like smoke in the air. But you cannot command the universe like a servant. It does not bend to the whims of arrogant men and women who believe their grip is eternal. No matter how much they had, no matter how many people they manipulated or intimidated, they had nothing. Nothing that truly mattered. Because at the end of it all, there were nothing but fleeting echoes in the wind. A faint shadow of a world that would move on without them. A world that would laugh at their pitiful attempts to claim something they never truly understood. They thought they had won. They thought their triumphs, their victories, and their riches defined their place in the world, gave them control over life and death, over success and failure, over the fate of every soul who crossed their path. They thought the game was theirs to win, and they had it all figured out. But in the quiet, they missed something. They missed the quiet hum of destiny, whispering through the cracks. The subtle reminder that no one is ever truly in control, that no one is ever above the very forces they try so hard to conquer. They missed the truth that every empire, every power, no matter how grand, is built on sand. And sand, when the wind blows, slips away. They thought they could outrun it, but the truth, no matter how they hid from it, would catch up. The problem with believing you're bigger than God is that you forget the power that holds the universe together. You forget that no matter how high you rise, the fall is always waiting. The bigger you think you are, the harder you fall. They might have thought they were invincible, that nothing could touch them, but they were walking a path lined with thorns, unaware that their own hubris was the sharpest of them all. They thought they were untouchable, but in reality, they were already crumbling. Their power was hollow, a fragile shell that could crack with the smallest of blows. The game they thought they controlled was slipping out of their grasp, slipping like water through their fingers. They never saw it coming. They never knew that their greatest enemy wasn't the people they crushed under their boots, but the very thing they failed to respect, the inevitable cycle of rise and fall that governs everything. They thought their name would echo forever, that their empire would stand for centuries, that their legacy would be written in gold letters across history. But they forgot the nature of time, the relentless passage of moments that never stop, that never care about the greatness of one individual or the failures of another. Time is indifferent. It doesn't remember the tyrants who thought they were gods. It doesn't remember the names of those who were convinced they were masters of the game. All those grandiose plans, all the strategies they devised to keep their empire afloat, all the manipulation, all the schemes, they were meaningless because they never accounted for one thing. Time waits for no one, and no one can escape the reckoning that it inevitably brings. The game they thought they were playing was nothing but an illusion, a fragile dream built on lies. They believed they were gods. They thought the world was theirs to control. And yet, every action, every move they made was a step towards their downfall. You see, when you think you can outsmart fate, when you think you can bend the world to your will, you lose sight of one thing. Fate is not a force that can be controlled by a single human. It is bigger than you. It is bigger than any one person, any empire, any fortune, any illusion of power. The more they tried to shape their destiny, the more they played their game, the more they cemented their own failure. Because fate isn't a thing to be controlled. It is a thing to be respected, to be understood. And they failed to understand it. They thought they could break it, but in the end, it broke them. They had everything. They had the wealth, the status, the control. They thought it made them untouchable, but the very thing they held most dear was the thing that would be their undoing. Power is an illusion. The moment you think you have it all is the moment it slips through your fingers, like sand in the wind. They thought they had the game figured out, but the game had already played them. They thought they were beyond consequences, beyond the reach of those they had wronged, beyond the very forces that govern all life. But they were not beyond anything. They were simply blind, and it is the blind who always fall hardest. They believed they could outlast everything. They believed they could stand tall while the world bowed to their will. But the universe is not a place of submission. It does not bend to the desires of men and women who think themselves above all else. It does not bow before the arrogant and the deluded. The arrogance they wore like a crown was their downfall. It was their poison. They didn't see it coming because they were too busy looking at the throne they had built for themselves, too busy looking at the power they had gathered around them. But the throne was empty. The power was fleeting. And when the final moment arrived, when the reckoning came, they realized too late that they had nothing. Not really. Nothing but the ruins of their own ambitions. They thought they were kings. They thought they were gods, invincible, unstoppable, untouchable. But they were just men and women, like the rest of us. The difference is that they fell too hard to ever rise again. Their arrogance was their greatest enemy, and in the end, it was their downfall. They could have seen it coming. They could have seen the cracks in the foundation if they weren't so blinded by their own ego. They could have saved themselves if they had learned the one lesson they failed to understand. Power is not permanent. Control is not absolute. And no one, no matter how high they rise, is beyond the reach of fate. The game they thought they controlled was never theirs to win. It was always bigger than them, always more complicated than they could ever understand. They might have had the pieces, but the game was always being played by someone else. The truth is, you cannot manipulate the world forever. You cannot bend the forces of nature to your will, no matter how much wealth or influence you hold. The world has a way of balancing itself out, a way of bringing everything back into alignment. And when the balance is tipped, when the scales of fate shift, you will fall. No one is invincible. No one is untouchable. And as much as they believed it, the truth was already written. The game would end and they would lose. They thought they had everything figured out. They thought their grip on the world was unbreakable. But the truth is, nothing lasts forever. The power they thought they had was always slipping away, always inching towards its inevitable end. They believed they were untouchable, but in the end they were nothing more than a fleeting moment in the grand scheme of things. And in that moment, when everything came crashing down, they would realize too late that the game was never theirs to control. It was always bigger than them. Always. That's the truth they refuse to acknowledge, isn't it? Always. No matter how much they thought they were above it all, no matter how many victories they stacked up, one after the other, there was always something larger than themselves, always something lurking in the shadows that they failed to account for. They had the riches, they had the power, they had the influence, but they never had control. Not real control. They were just players in a game they didn't fully understand. They built their empires on sand, thinking they could stand tall without realizing the inevitable erosion that time brings. They thought their money, their influence, their ability to control the minds of others would protect them forever, but it didn't. They were fools to believe they could escape the consequences of their actions. The universe doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care about the titles you hold or the riches you possess. It doesn't care about your arrogance. All it cares about is balance. And balance, like everything else, will always tip in the end. The higher you rise, the harder you fall. The greater the illusion of power, the greater the crash when it shatters. Their arrogance blinded them to the simplest of truths. No one can control everything. No one can bend the forces of the universe to their will. It doesn't matter how many people you manipulate, how many deals you broker, or how many threats you issue. The world is bigger than your desires, and it doesn't give a damn about your petty games. They thought they were the masters, but they were nothing more than pawns in a game much larger than they could ever comprehend. They were never in control. They were always being controlled, whether they knew it or not. They thought they could silence the whispers of doubt, erase the warnings from the world around them. They built walls around their minds, walls to keep the truth out, to shield themselves from the things they didn't want to see. But those walls don't last. No matter how high they are built, no matter how thick the stone, they will always crumble under the weight of reality. And when the walls fall, when the truth floods in, they are left with nothing but the wreckage of their own delusions. Everything they thought they controlled slips away like water through a cracked vessel. Everything they thought they were invincible against crashes down upon them in an overwhelming tide. They believed they could live above the rules that govern the world. They thought they could escape consequence, but consequences don't care about your position. They don't care about how much money you have or how many people you can manipulate. Consequences are inevitable. The truth is always waiting, just behind the veil, biding its time. The more they thought they could avoid it, the harder it came crashing down on them. It's only a matter of time. That's the lesson they never learned. Time waits for no one. And no matter how much they tried to manipulate it, to bend it to their desires, time was always the one thing they could never control. They were obsessed with power. They thought it was everything. But power is an illusion. It's temporary. It's fragile. It can be taken away in an instant, ripped from your grasp without warning. The more you try to cling to it, the more it slips away. It's a game, a dangerous game, where the stakes are high and the rewards are fleeting. They thought they had mastered it, thought they had beaten the system. But the truth is, the system never had a winner. It's not a game that can be won. It's a game that plays you. The moment you think you've won, the moment you think you're untouchable, that's when the fall comes. That's when you realize the game was never yours to control in the first place. They thought their empire would last forever. They thought the world they had built would never crumble, that the legacy they had forged would stand for eternity. But legacies are fragile too. They can be destroyed in an instant, torn apart by the very forces they failed to understand. History remembers those who earned their place, those who built their legacies with honor and respect. But those who built their empires on lies, manipulation, and greed, history forgets them. History buries them. The arrogance they wore like a crown was their greatest enemy. It led them to believe they were invincible. But they were not. They were mortal. And no one is exempt from the laws of the universe, not even them. They could have built something great. They could have used their power for good. They could have made a real difference in the world. But they chose to feed their own egos, to bow to their desires, to build their empire on the backs of others. And now, as the walls come crashing down around them, they realize too late that they were never the masters of anything. They were slaves to their own desires, and in the end, their desires led them straight into the arms of their own destruction. They were blinded by their own success. They believed their rise was inevitable, that nothing could stop them. But that's the problem with arrogance. It clouds your vision. It makes you think you're unstoppable when, in reality, you are just one moment away from your undoing. And when that moment comes, when the illusion shatters and the truth becomes undeniable, they will realize that they were never untouchable. They were just a part of the game, a brief flicker in the vast expanse of time. And their fleeting power, their fleeting success, will be forgotten just as quickly as it arrived. They could have been more. They could have been the ones to change the world, to leave a legacy that would be remembered for generations. But they chose to play the game the wrong way. They chose to believe they were above the rules, that they could escape the consequences of their actions. And now, as they stand in the ruins of what they once believed to be invincible, they will realize that it was all for nothing. Their empire, their power, their control, it was all a house of cards, ready to fall the moment the wind blew too hard. They thought they were bigger than God. They thought they could control everything, shape everything to their will. But the truth is, nothing can be controlled forever. Not people, not power, not time. And when everything they held dear comes crashing down, they will realize that they were never the masters. They were just players in a much larger game, a game they thought they understood, but a game that was always being played without them. Now, as the dust settles and the echoes of their arrogance fade into silence, the world moves on. The game continues, the power shifts, and those who thought they were untouchable those who thought they could bend everything to their will be forgotten. Because the game was never about them. It was never about the individuals who thought they could control it all. The game is about something bigger, something far greater than they ever understood. And it always was. Always. It was never about the power they thought they controlled, nor the empire they thought they built. It was never about their name etched in the annals of history, never about the riches they acquired or the lives they manipulated. The true game, the one that always existed, is far grander than any of them could ever hope to comprehend. The real force, the real power that shapes everything around us, cannot be bent or tamed by the arrogant whims of a single soul, no matter how mighty they believe themselves to be. And yet, despite all the evidence, they continued to play the game as if the rules didn't apply to them. They were blinded by their own hubris, driven by the false belief that they could bend the world to their will. They thought they were invincible, invulnerable to the very forces that had shaped the world long before their birth and would continue long after their fall. But the world is not as simple as they believed. The game they played was not a game of mere accumulation. It wasn't about how much they could take or how many they could crush beneath their heels. It was never about winning or losing in the way they understood it. The truth of the game is this: it's about the balance of existence. It's about the flow of energy that courses through everything, the cycles of rise and fall, of creation and destruction, of light and dark. The game is one of life itself, and no one person, no matter how powerful, can ever seize control of it. They thought their wealth, their position, their influence meant that they were the ones pulling the strings. But in reality, the only string they ever controlled was the one tethered to their own arrogance, the one that kept them locked in the illusion that they could outrun the inevitable. The fall, when it comes, is never immediate. It never arrives with a loud crash or a sharp break. No, it's gradual. It's a slow unraveling that begins with small cracks, unseen, unnoticed, before the entire structure collapses under its own weight. They lived in a perpetual state of denial, constantly reinforcing the walls of their own delusion. They ignored the signs, the whispers of doubt that crept into their hearts. They dismissed the quiet, invisible forces that worked against them, the forces they couldn't control. Every wrong person, every broken promise, every lie they told, every soul they crushed, it all added up. It wasn't a matter of if they would fall, but when. And when that moment came, when the weight of their actions bore down on them with crushing force, they would realize the true extent of their failure. They didn't realize that their so-called control was nothing more than a temporary illusion. They thought they had the world in the palm of their hands, but the reality was much darker, much more insidious. The world doesn't revolve around any one person. The universe is indifferent to the desires of men and women, no matter how much wealth they amass or how much power they wield. And in their blindness, in their pursuit of dominance, they never understood this fundamental truth. They saw themselves as kings and queens, rulers of a world they thought they could manipulate at will. But the crown they wore was made of thorns, and the throne they sat upon was already crumbling, its foundation cracked, its support gone. What they didn't see, what they refused to acknowledge, was that the true strength in this world lies not in power, but in surrender. Not in domination, but in understanding. The game is not about controlling others, about shaping them to your will. It is about understanding your place in the larger scheme of things, about aligning yourself with the forces that govern existence, not defying them. It's about respect. Respect for the laws of nature, respect for the flow of time, respect for the balance that holds everything together. They tried to force their way to the top, to create an empire that they thought would stand the test of time. But they were blind to the fact that empires rise and fall. What stands today can be torn down tomorrow. And those who thought they were untouchable, who believed they had surpassed the forces that shape the universe, will always find themselves humbled in the end. Always. In their pursuit of greatness, they forgot that greatness is not defined by how much you take, by how many you conquer, or by how loud your name is spoken. True greatness is found in how you contribute to the world, how you leave a legacy that benefits others. They could have been more. They could have used their power, their wealth, their influence to create something that would have lasted. They could have built something meaningful, something that would have transcended their ego and their need for validation. But they chose instead to feed the beast of their own arrogance, to worship at the altar of their own desires. And in doing so, they condemned themselves to the fate they never saw coming. They will not be remembered for their power, for their conquests, or for the empires they built. They will be remembered for their hubris, for their blind belief that they were above everything, for their failure to understand that no one is ever truly in control. Their empire will crumble, their name will fade from memory, and the world will move on, indifferent to their rise and fall. That is the truth. It always has been, and it always will be. You see, they thought they could control the game. They thought they had mastered it. But the game is not about control. It's about understanding. It's about recognizing the forces that shape everything around you and learning to move with them, not against them. They tried to manipulate the system, to make it work for them, but the system cannot be bent to the will of a single person. It is bigger than that. It has always been bigger than that. The game is much larger than any one individual. It is a force beyond comprehension, one that moves in its own rhythm, indifferent to the whims of men and women. And in the end, when their name is forgotten, when their empire is reduced to dust, it will be the ones who understood this, the ones who didn't try to control everything, but instead learned how to flow with the tides of life, who will remain. They will be the ones remembered, the ones whose legacies transcend time. It is not the ones who grasped for power, who clung to their wealth and influence, who made the world bend to their will. It is the ones who understood that true power lies in humility, in surrender, and in alignment with the forces that govern existence. They will be the ones who, though their names may not be shouted from the rooftops, will live on in the hearts and minds of those who learned from their wisdom. And when those who thought they were untouchable are long gone, when their names are whispered only in dark corners, the world will still be here. The game will still be playing. And the true players, the ones who understood the nature of the game, will still be in motion, still shaping the world in ways that no empire, no wealth, no illusion of control can ever touch. Always, always. The game will go on, and those who try to control it will be nothing more than a passing memory, a fleeting moment in the grand, infinite flow of time. Always. In the end, those who thought they were untouchable, those who believed they could control the game, will fade into obscurity. Their empire, their power, their illusions of invincibility will crumble, as they always do. The universe doesn't bend to human will. It moves on, indifferent to the arrogance of those who forget their place. True strength lies not in domination, but in understanding and humility. The game will continue, and those who align with its natural flow will be the ones remembered, long after the empire of the arrogant has fallen. Always.